Yes, welcome back to TVC, specifically to Nigeria Votes. This platform via which we're keeping our eyes on the governorship poll taking place in 29 states of the Federation. And of course, elections into state assembly positions are also taking place. We have our correspondent across the states of the Federation, and we've been having reports intermittently. You just heard from the news. Sorting has started in quite a number of states. We've had reports from Benue, from Ogun, we've had from Lagos, we've had from Kwara State as well, from Kaduna. Yes, we've had reports from all those places. And just before as sorting started, we were looking at the role of party agents at this critical time of the electioneering process. And I recall my guest during the break was making an observation about the proximity of voters to, the polling area where ad hoc staff, INEC ad hoc staff are, and the sensitivity of that process. But in Kaduna, it was a more reassuring scenario because of the proximity of security agents to the polling booth, such that if there was any incident, security operatives would be able to take charge of the process. And that's where we're taking off from. That was what you were commenting on, Janet, before we had to go for the news.
Yes, from the video INEC had been playing, when you finish your voting, you're supposed to move away to give space. But we saw that many of them, and all of them, could not have been polling party agents. So there's this chances are that something may just trigger annoyance, disagreement, argument. And some people, they react very negatively to arguments. They feel easily insulted during argument, and well, security agents are on standby for any eventualities. But the major role of these party agents is to open their eyes very well. They are the representatives of the parties. They are there to monitor what is happening, look at the transparency, be involved in the counting. And we saw the state of harmony, which was very pleasing to me. All of them in Ogun State, they hugged each other. In Lagos State, we saw them singing, There's this synergy between them, and harmony and peace. And I hope that it will be sustained till after the announcement of the results, because that hugging must continue. That's the kind of spirit that we want in this election, so that the peace we all pray for should be achieved.
But we noted that in Kaduna, as against Benue, the same in both states, only slightly different situations. In Kaduna, the voters, were seated and they were waiting patiently for the sorting to begin. But then again, to avoid any eventuality, isn't it better for voters, to go home after they have cast their ballot? Should party agents be trusted enough, to cover the interests of the electorate?
It still talks to the same process of trust that we're talking about. Ideally, if I vote, I should stay in my house and be watching. But the thing is, even parties now say, stay there to make sure that your votes count, which means there's a level of distrust. And also the party agents, they're Nigerians. They too can be compelled to do so. So as long as we are unable to build trust in the system, in ourselves, we'll be having all these doubts. From what we saw and what we said, look at Ogun State. There are different parties, but the election had gone. You have seen the voting process. It's transparent. It was open. Whoever wins will win. So there's no point in fighting, in tearing the thing. It doesn't add to your money. No, does it add to anything? But let's be happy that we are getting it right and moving on. I know in time, it will not be necessary for you to vote and come back. It depends on where you live, and then come back to come and sit down to see counting when there are party agents. Party agents should be the ones doing that, and then signing off, and then we are all going to sleep that election has come and gone. We will get there, I believe so. It will take a bit of time, but we will.
Are you confident in the party agents as well?
To an extent, if they are loyal to their parties, and this is a period where their loyalty is going to be grossly tested. If they compromise, they have betrayed the trust placed on them by those parties. And for those voters who have voted and want to stay, it's a matter of choice. Some of them have the luxury of time, so they can stay there from the beginning to the ending. Some of them want to protect their votes. They want to make sure that they count, so they stay. But for me, I feel if you vote and you want to go, just go. And don't crowd. Some are just there and causing, making the atmosphere very
safe.
It's not safe, making the atmosphere cloudy without playing any specific role. They are just onlookers and commentators. That's what they are. So many of them should just go home and leave some with the party agents so that there will be no crisis.
And this is the most critical. Yes, the voting exercise is just as important. Well, you know, we're having this conversation yesterday on TVC as well. You know? So going forward in future elections, how can we have this same level of transparency that we see you know, during the voting exercise, shining the light as well, the same volume of illumination on that process where the votes are taken from the polling booths to the collation centers, from the collation centers, because from this point now, we can't really tell because we can't see what is happening anymore. Dokun, you want to?
You see, the thing also is the process. If, for instance, somebody has recorded the votes that are counted, and then it will be transmitted somewhere, if we can follow it up, it will not matter whether anybody snatches thereafter, except that maybe for just to be able to balance the numbers to say, okay, this is what you brought.
Okay, hold the thought on balance the numbers. We have Ibrahim Aleke, our correspondent in Kwara State. Ibrahim, you reported earlier that sorting has begun. So how far have ad hoc staff gone with sorting?
Well, not only sorting, of course, counting of votes has also commenced. Where I am now, I am at Moyaki Unit 13 and 18 behind me. This is Gambari area of Ilorin East. We have 5 polling units along this stretch. Among these 5 polling units, at least election has been concluded in 2 of them. Sorting and counting have actually been concluded in 2, but we have 3 still remaining where sorting and counting are going on. And what's quite interesting here is that as the electoral officers were counting, the electorates who still hang around were also counting with them. So that shows the excitement that people have about this electoral process. People are following the electoral process bit by bit. They have to wait. Everybody is counting along with them, and the excitement is quite glaring with the people here. But we still have 3 other units where the counting is still going on. But people are actually excited about it, and the results were what we're hearing from different parts of the metropolis along here is that counting has already begun in many parts, many polling units in Ilorin here.
Ibrahim, the presence of security in the area where sorting and counting has been concluded, is it as reassuring as it was, when the voting was actually going on?
Yes, even in this particular unit, Unit 13 in Gambari, at a point it became a heated argument between agents of different political parties whether they actually counted 70 or 71. So it took the intervention of the security operatives who are here to calm the nerves that there's no point, arguing about this. So they had to ensure that there was no breakdown of law and order, and eventually people came to town particularly about how much they've counted. So it's all been good. Of course, there were reports and also complaints on some parts that security were not enough. But at the end of the day, we're having a seamless electoral process in all the polling units that are visited. And here, there's no problem along this corridor. Everything is going on fine. 2 already counted, remaining 3 polling units to be counted.
And just before you go, you can tell that sorting and counting has started in practically all parts of Kwara. Voting has ended.
Yes, particularly those that I've been to, but where my eyes cannot see, I cannot authoritatively confirm whether it's been concluded or. But judging by where I've gone and judging by the time that the INEC officials started the election, they started as early as possible. So hopefully, within the metropolis, of course, they must have been rounding up in most of the polling units. If not, that counting has started in virtually all the polling units.
Ibrahim Alege, our correspondent in Kwara State, bringing us up to speed with the stage of the electoral process where voting has ended and sorting and counting has begun in earnest. In the polling, at the polling unit where he reported from, that exercise has been concluded, but it is continuing in other polling units as he reported. You know, if you examined what Ibrahim talked about, that, you know, during the sorting and counting process, there was a heated argument between party agents and ad hoc staff, and he took the intervention of security operatives, you know, to quell that situation. So it speaks to the importance of security presence as this process of sorting and counting unfolds. You know,
believe me, the sorting and counting is probably the most important part of it that can cause friction. The voting, you don't know how the person is voting. But when it comes to sort, I mean, imagine what they said, that they were arguing whether it was 70 or 71. And that alone can cause a complete breakdown of law and order. We need the security men. For the process as it is, yes, we need them. But as things get better, and when you can vote from the comfort of your home, or maybe you just go there or any day of the week or do absentee balloting, this will begin to reduce. And then all this milling around and fear of violence will be reduced. One can only look forward to that time. But today, obviously, we seem to have had a better performance in the process than what it was.
Back to the point about, you know, the same amount of focus, you know, transparency that we see during the voting exercise to the collation exercise, you know, how soon can we get to that point, or are we going to have to wait until we achieve electronic voting system before we have 100% transparency on the electoral exercise? I'm
sure it may have to be, in the sense that the element of trust and the almost the fisticuff between political parties to political ascendants, it makes it difficult to trust the system. So no matter what, unless it's like sleeping there and seeing it, people will not believe. But it's not that. But I knew even before electronic, truly, if we change our paradigm about political process and what it should mean if it's service, these things are achievable. Because if you want to serve, why must you kill to serve? Or why must you disrupt the process to serve? It all comes back to all of us and those who aspire to lead us. Those examples will begin to show forth as we go forward. And then we can count that the transparency of voting will translate into transparency of carrying it to the next stage and the next, and trusting one another to believe it is true. Because I know as they go, the party agents go with them, I guess. So, Janet said, except
unless
there is...
you have contrary views.
No, except, as Janet said, there's compromise or sense of disloyalty. There's no reason why anything here should change from there.
But you never can tell.
You never can tell. But again, it doesn't speak to the president, it speaks to the party agent. I mean, if the party agent is disloyal, there's nothing you can do. Which means that parties must take, it's not just anybody who comes. They also must train whoever is going to be a party agent. Yes. It must be someone they have a absolute trust in, that no matter what, he can't sell them. But if it's someone you just pick because he knows somebody, he can sell.
Janet, how can we achieve more transparency? Surely there must be, you know, a way around it beyond the sorting and counting.
The manual, yes. The manual counting.
When we get to collation, you know, the entering results into result sheets. Yes. Those are
I think it's just a matter of applying more speed, and some people have even suggested that it should be electronically, that you compute the numbers. Once the party agents have agreed on a particular number, you just compute it into the computer. Again, some software engineers
absolutely
also